So the UConn Huskies are your 2023 national champions for college basketball, and rightfully so. I mean, they just ran through everybody. Now, before I get into UConn, what this means for UConn, and are they blue blood? They're not one of, I believe, only 4 or 5 schools with 5 national championships or more. They've won 5 since 1999. Before we get into all that, let's talk about the actual game. And look, I got to pat myself on the back. I do. Okay, if you go back, you watch the old, I don't know if you saw the preview video before the national championship game, but basically what I said was San Diego State's going to have a run of about 7 minutes like they do every game where they just don't score. And that happened in the first half. UConn stretched the lead out to 16. San Diego State comes back in the second half. They cut it down to 5 with about 5 minutes left, and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, we might have something going. Hawkins comes off a screen, knocks down a contested 3, and then, that was it. That was all she wrote at that point. And so the game wasn't great. It wasn't super entertaining. But ultimately, I'm not upset with the result because the right team won. Okay? We can walk away from the national championship game going, you know what? The best team in the country won. Okay, UConn's a team who hasn't lost a game outside of their conference all year. They lost 8 games in conference. That's it. Okay, they were insanely dominant through the entire season. This is one of the most dominant tournament runs we've ever seen. Okay, their combined point differential for the tournament was 120. They played 6 games, so that's they're beating teams by an average of 20 points a game. That's really tough to do. Okay, obviously the Kentucky team in 1996 beat teams by 21.5 points a game, but still, either way, this is one of the most dominant runs we've ever seen, one of the most complete teams I think we've ever seen. They were such a joy to watch from just a pure basketball perspective, the way that they moved out the basketball, the way that they moved it. I mean, they were just awesome. Okay, they had guys on the outside who could knock down jumpers. They obviously had Sonogo underneath. I mean, they played great basketball every minute that they were out there on the floor. They went 9 deep. All 9 guys were talented. I mean, they were so much fun to watch, and they just absolutely picked teams up and tossed them aside. So nothing else really more to say about the game. Now I want to talk about something that people do every year in every sport, especially in college. Professional sports, not nearly as much. But college sports, oh my gosh, every year. Football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Every year people do this. UConn is not the best team ever, okay? I walk into work this morning, okay, the guy who is on the board before I am, who runs all the overnight shows. Super cool guy. Love talking to him. But I walk in, he goes, Jonathan, did you watch the game last night? I'm like, yeah, of course I watched the game last night. What are you talking about? He goes, yeah. He goes, I think UConn is the best team ever after that. It's just no, they're not. Okay, in order to be the best college basketball team ever, I think you not only have to win the NCAA title that year, but you also have to win your conference title, which UConn didn't do. They weren't very good in conference play. And because of that, it has really changed, I think, the way that I'm going to fill out my brackets going forward. Because a lot of times, if this is just a personal thing, maybe you do the same thing, maybe you don't. I look at how good teams do within their conference, because usually, your non-conference games are a little bit softer. You're playing against some smaller schools that you're supposed to beat and things of that nature. Then again, you sprinkle in a few tougher games. But ultimately, it's just I just want to see what they do in the conference, because they're playing against teams that know them really well. They're playing against teams that are better, more than likely, than the teams that they see in their non-conference. And with UConn, they didn't lose a non-conference game all year. And when you play against conference teams, it's teams who know you extremely well. And so they know how to adjust to you. They know how to play you. They know all the little things that your non-conference opponents don't. And very rarely in the tournaments do you play a conference team. It doesn't happen very often. I don't think we had any. That's a bold statement. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure we didn't have any interconference matchups through the entire tournament this year. And so I think going forward, when I fill out my bracket, because this is just going to help me a whole bunch. Next year I'm going to get it perfect because I'm going to change the way that I do my bracket. So I think from now on, the way that I do my bracket is just going to be a little bit different, just kind of after seeing this run and having that realization. But either way, UConn, the deserving national champions, I'm glad they won. I feel like if San Diego State had won, we would have left the game going, I don't think the best team in the country won. So thankfully, UConn did win. Congrats to them. Congrats to the youngest Hurley. Okay, as a younger brother myself, I got to admit, I'm kind of happy he got a national championship before Bobby Hurley. Just honestly, I am. So that's going to do it here at Shooting the Shmitt. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment your thoughts on the national championship game, who you think is going to win it next year, all those things. We're going to be moving into a lot more NBA stuff, so if you're an NBA basketball fan, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's going to be really good. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back in later with another take for y'all.